Assalamu alaikum. I'm Carl Arrindell and you're watching In Focus. Now, as we read in this week's newspapers the comments of US presidential hopeful Donald Trump that climate change is apparently simply a hoax, many climate scientists and activists have become desperately worried. Some leaders have been demanding that rich countries should compensate the poor countries for the polluting the atmosphere. A few have even said that developed countries should open their borders to climate migrants. According to an article in the New York Times, Bangladesh, with its low elevation and severe tropical storms, is among the countries most vulnerable to the effects of climate change, though it has contributed little itself to the emissions that are driving it. Its citizens, the article suggests, are living on borrowed time. Atiq Rahman, Executive Director of the Bangladesh Centre for Advanced Studies and the nation's leading climate scientist, made the point that, and I'm quoting him, these migrants should have the right to move to the countries from which all these greenhouse gases are coming. Millions should be able to go to the United States. Well, I don't know how Donald Trump will respond to that suggestion. Perhaps he'll propose building another wall. To discuss the mixed fortunes in the Bangladeshi economy and, of course, the impact of climate change, I'm pleased to be joined again today by the Honourable MA Mannan, the State Minister for Finance and State Minister for Planning in the Cabinet of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Assalamu alaikum and welcome, Minister, to In Focus.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum again.
Now, before we get on to the hot topic, excuse the pun, of climate change, I'd like first to talk about the normal drivers in the economy. The Bangladeshi Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, last week called upon tax authorities to act more efficiently in boosting revenue collection. It is understood that developing and emerging countries like Bangladesh are particularly vulnerable to tax avoidance and tax evasion of individual taxpayers as well as corporations. Now, while tax revenues in OECD countries are usually around 35% of the GDP, in Bangladesh's case, it's only around 10%. Tax evasion and tax avoidance is regarded by many pundits as a big issue in Bangladesh. How significant do you regard this issue and what measures are being proposed? Will there be any policy changes to the tax laws in the budget, as has been hinted to? And I suppose you've got to find a way of replacing the $81 million that we heard in the news suddenly disappeared from Federal Reserves. Perhaps you can shed some light on that.
Very true. Thank you very much. Now, it's a very complex issue. You know, ours is a developing country in the sense, and we are jumping quite fast these days. The figures are very positive. Growth has just crossed 7%, and we've been doing 6+ for the last 7-8 years. Straight. In that sense, we are lot of new wealth, lot of new incomes are flowing into the country. But somehow, you have said it very correctly, our tax GDP ratio is one of the lowest in the world, 10-11% now. We would like to push it up to 17-18 very soon, as long as
But is that because of corruption, or is it because of inefficiencies?
Alone. Traditionally, ours is a non-tax-paying society. You know, it's agrarian. People were tilling their own lands for their own living. So much of the wealth was really subsistence in that sense. Now we're shifting to a new industrial base where you can track in, you can have accounting for, and you can see how much money has been made. Traditionally, we have not been a very tax-paying people, as I said already. So we have to shift there. And we being in politics, we would like to do things in a way that, you know, disrupt the apple cart. We have to keep bring people together. Our new investors should feel safe that their new acquired wealth is safe and they can reinvest, create new employment, and move forward.
So the population at large, the supposed taxpayers who, in real terms, are not paying at the moment, they need to have confidence that you're spending the money sensibly. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, yeah. They should see where we are spending the money, and at the same time, they should feel that we are not pressing them, we are not chasing them, hounding them. So we are tiptoeing and going forward.
So you're not planning, even though this has been a mission statement of the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, you're not going to be aggressive now after the budget pursuing
Well, everything that we do and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina does, she brings things holistic approach. So she brings the whole society along. She asks us to do a thing, do certain things. She has a clear time frame bound to her promises, and we chase that. But again, as we say, we are a democratic society, and we would like to do things, not disrupt, no adventures. We would like to be sort of winning over and bringing all together.
But I imagine a shift from a 10% of GDP to 35%, which most of the OECD countries currently operate on, would make a massive change to the whole economy.
That would be a massive change, but at the same time, I think we are making good headway in that. We are going to expand our network first. From this year onward, we are moving into the rural side of the economy. The large agriculture section, which has been out of tax paying altogether, we are trying to bring in them, and we are going to. We have employed new inspectors, we are opening up new offices, and we are doing massive campaigns on seeing that others non-paying people come in. So that way we hope to make some changes.
Tell me about the proposals by the Prime Minister to increase taxes on all tobacco products. I understand that up to 20% of all deaths among males between the age of 30 and 69 relate to smoking issues. How serious a commitment is that target of the Prime Minister to eradicate the use of tobacco in its entirety by 2040?
Right. She's committed. She's serious about it. There's no denying that, and nobody should feel that she's not serious about it. All that she has done over the years, the last few years, in terms of literacy, in terms of women empowerment, in terms of widening the tax network, in every aspect she has been very clear, and she has bound all her pledges to time. So in tobacco also, which is a known enemy globally, there's no country in the world which supports, smoking. So we have our own policy. In Bangladesh, we do feel that there is a lot of death from there, unnecessary death. It's just cruelty. And the poorer section of the people smoke more because they have a lower income, and they have fewer ways of leisure, spending their leisure time. In that sense, we are trying to sort of two ways: campaign, talk, show the evil side of smoking, the bad side, and also tax it more so that you are sort of priced out of it altogether. And this year is going to be a sea change in tax policy on tobacco. We are going to make a big jump on it, and in the next 6 weeks' time, the budget will be on table. Will have passed. We'll raise it really significantly.
Will that impact on the cost of what they call biddies, the handmade? Because I'm worried that you're introducing these taxes and suddenly everybody will start rolling their own.
No, BD is something, which is more harmful than the other cigarettes. All cigarettes are harmful, and BD is more harmful. It's coarse, it's crude, it's not refined, and the least priced tobacco, the worst ones, the bottom, the stumps mostly, are crushed and made into BDs. But a lot of poor people in Bangladesh have been subsisting on it over the years in terms of work, in terms of employment, and smoking also. We are trying to shift them from there by imposing higher taxes so that they can't really afford it.
Now, in the next fortnight, your government is expected to announce its budget for 2016-17 as fiscal period. It has been suggested that this will be a 3.4 trillion taka for 43 billion US dollars budget with a focus on jobs.
Yes.
Now, you'll probably point to the fact that unemployment in Bangladesh is on the up, that unemployment currently stands at less than 5%. But, for example, the Economist Intelligence Unit, the EIU, report published last year concluded that nearly 50% of all graduates in Bangladesh are unemployed, and that about 40% of the population is underemployed. Many persons counted as employed work only a few hours a week and with low wages, leaving over 30% of the population below the poverty line. What are the dramatic plans for employment hinted at by the Prime Minister?
Population under the poverty line is not 30%, as you have said. Our own statistics, which are very reliable, very modern, it's about 22% now. So that's one in every 5 is really unemployed in the sense that you would like that you calculate here. Well, unemployment is something, again, the way they understand here in England or in the US or elsewhere is quite different parts. Still a large part of our economy is in agriculture, which is seasonal. One doesn't find work throughout the year. Maybe 6 months in a year you work very hard, quite intensively, and the other 6 months you work less. So when you average out, you sort of calculate in a way that shows that sometimes you are not fully employed. That is one thing. Other thing you said about graduates being unemployed. Here is a trick here. Graduates in our society, they feel someone, they have made it, and they don't like to do every job. Employment here would mean anything which pays for you, anything you would like to do and earn a living. In our society, which is tradition bound, you become a graduate, you move on to upper classes of the society, economically, and you would like to do many other jobs which are lying vacant, but you would like to move in there. So finding a proper match for a proper qualification, that's one big area where we have a problem. So those people are unemployed. Part of the time they are unemployed. Some job they would like to do just out of sheer, sort of, they don't like it. And another thing is not sometimes calculated. Our people, young people from our country, they would like to move west also, seeking better employment, better life, and improved living standards. So it's the complications of all things together.
Now, at a Woman Deliver global conference in Denmark
Yes.
last week, I think you may be wearing a badge.
Yeah, thank you.
You pledged to make more investments of women and girls. Is this a recognition of the fact that the rate of unemployment among educated women is dramatically higher than their male counterparts, or that 80% of young women are at home and not in the labour force? 2/3 of women are not in employment, education or training, and 2/3 of school dropouts are women, the most common reason for that being the marriage.
Yeah.
It strikes me that there is a need for a real need for cultural change. What sort of measures are you proposing?
It's a very, very big issue. It's very important, we realize, and we realize that we have to bring in our women up front. Half the society is lying, not being fully employed and not contributing really. But again, as I said, I have said in the beginning, the first comment, that we are a government, Sheikh Hasina's government would like to think gradually, would like to change things in a very quiet, hard way, but not create ripples which disturb the balance as it is. Whether we agree with the balance or not, that's a different matter. But it is there and we respect it. It's from our forefathers, from our predecessors. So in that way, we have found, among many other strategic changes, women empowerment, educating women, opening various, sort of options for them would really empower them and bring them out. That's already shown in Bangladesh. You see in the secondary schools, which is fundamentally the very basic of our society, women, girls, students outnumber the men by about 10% altogether. And it's growing. At the secondary level, tertiary level, we are still below, because once a girl is about 20, 21, is a graduate or something, she marries off. And, she, in our society, again, being Muslim and being Asian and being, traditionalist, would like those who have a better income at home, would like their women to, look after their kids. You can go into arguments about that, but we are not, as I said, our government is in no hurry about that. We would like to empower women in the sense that they become contributing factors to our social development, rather than coming out in the streets and jumping on everything. No, we leave it open to them, but we give them the choice. If they want to come, they're welcome. But there are other good things at home also that they can do. They can raise their children better. They can educate their children, look up, these sort of things. Homemaking is what they say.
But are you saying that you're personally of the opinion that women's real purpose in life is to be at home?
I would not make that statement. That's not a very proper statement. But I'm saying that, as I said, we want to open up options and leave it to them. Leave it to you as an individual. You choose. These are the options. There's no bar.
But to allow that, given the statistics that I just went through, that's calling for a seismic change, isn't it? And that's going to call for major intervention from government, isn't it?
We have done major interventions. We have affirmative actions. I give you an example. In the primary schools, of which about 100,000 are running at this moment in our country, in the government sector, women teachers are very large. 60% of the available jobs must go to women. That's fixed for them. In other jobs, we have fixed quotas for women and open other jobs to them. So a girl can apply on a general line and also ask for a quota job. So that way we are giving them a two-track sort of approach to the job market, to the other markets also in the society. So I think they're making headway. It's clear in Bangladesh. Our parliament is one of the parliaments in the world where about 20% are women members. Our prime minister, our leader of the opposition, our speaker, what not. So you see, women are in very, very bright spots in Bangladesh, and that is done with a purpose sometimes. So it gives a sort of example to the other women. They can see that their sisters are there.
OK, I'm going to leave that topic for a moment. You'll probably be pleased to note, but I need to ask you about youth unemployment. Youth unemployment is, I know, a global challenge. The rates of youth unemployment in Bangladesh estimated around 10.3%, is higher than the regional South Asian average. A World Bank report found that more than 75% of business leaders claimed that there was a scarcity of skilled young workers, that investment to generate unemployment was not in line with the demand, and that it's been necessary to hire skilled workers from India, Sri Lanka and Thailand because of shortage of skilled labour. Is the government ready to take responsibility for this by creating new jobs and upgrading crucially, the education system?
Yeah. Well, first thing is to recognize the problem. Yes, we have this issue. There is no doubt about that. Traditionally, also again, I go to tradition. We are not a very technical and that kind of a thing. Now we have this present government of Sheikh Hasina has launched policies of opening up new schools, vocational institutions, technical schools all over the country, of a level which is not necessarily very high in the Western standard, but small little bit of technical jobs like repairing this, building that, bricklaying for that. Or sewing the cloth, or repairing the shoes, or repairing a TV, or repairing a mobile phone or something. These kind of bits of jobs creating, we are trying to